or on paper. But here's the key. I don't want you to move on to the next equation until you finish the one prior. Are you ready? Okay? And now here's the key. Now I want you to hold on to this thought. At the end of me giving you these several equations, there are 7 of them, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, if everyone could look up here for a second, please. I'm going to ask you a question. And what I want you to do when I ask you that question, I want you to immediately think of the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you that question. Okay? All right. So, how much is 15 plus 6?
90.
No, don't say anything out loud. Just do it in your own mind. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I should have asked it out loud. So you're gonna come up with the answers to the equation to yourself, and then here's the other key again. When I ask the question at the end, don't say it out loud. Keep it to yourself. Promise me you'll do that? Okay? So when I ask the question at the end, what are you gonna do?
Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself. Keep it in your own mind. All right, good. 3 plus 56. 39 plus 2. 12 plus 53. 75 plus 6. One time. How many of you know? Okay. Now, here's the question. Keep it to yourself. I want you to think of a color and a tool. How many think red hammer? Raise your hand.
Oh!
Whoa! Raise your hand. You said red hammer, right? Almost 70% of the room. Why? How did that happen? Okay, you bought a pliers anyway, so what does it matter? Oh, that's cool. Well, your toolkit is very interesting. Okay, gang, so what's the point? Now, the majority of the people said red hammer. Now, why is that? Well, there's a certain process that when you go through, it triggers something in your subconscious mind to think of something when you're asked that question. And here's the thing. I don't know how it works. But regardless of who I do this in front of, literally more than 80% of the people in the room think of red hammer.
What about the rest?
Very. I don't know. I never polled that. That's a good point.
What brain? What type of brain are you using?
Yeah, I didn't bump that.
No, but the majority of the people did. So it's pretty compelling, okay? Now, here's my point. If you follow a process, you get a certain result, but to your point, Nancy, it's not 100%, right? So my point is that you could use these 5 money makers and these dialogues and all the things that I share with you today. None of them are going to work 100%. Although there is one thing I'm going to share with you today that is infallible. How many want to hear about that? That works 100% of the time, okay? But if you use them most of the time, if you use them all the time, they'll work most of the time. You feel me, folks? Now, why did I bring that up as a point? The reason why I brought that up as a point is that you're going to go out, you're going to use one of these techniques, and it's not going to work. You're going to come to the office and say, hey, you know that seminar we went to at WRAR? That guy came up and said, no problem. I said, no problem, and they kicked me out of the house. It doesn't work. And they take all the notes they took and they throw them out, and they're like, put them in the back of their trunk and forget about that. They see another ad for hey, that guy John speaking at the board again. It doesn't work. It's not 100%, right, Dan? So be realistic, okay? Go to the next page. How an agent can guarantee success in real estate. Starting every Monday. Work first on A, floor time. Woo! Yeah! Something called opportunity time, you know? I was managing an office out in Western Massachusetts, and one of the agents came up to me and said, failed this. They said, John, I can't believe we stopped making that magazine. We had our own magazine we were distributing out in all Western Mass, and when that magazine would go out there and that would hit the streets, we used to have 2 people on floor time at the same time just to handle all the calls that came in. And you folks got rid of that magazine. I can't believe you got rid of the magazine. Why'd you get rid of the magazine? The magazine was what made me money, and that's what helped me to be successful in real estate, and you people don't know what the heck you're doing, and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. What really happened was that they missed out on, they were on vacation that week, is that people stopped calling on the magazine was no longer paying for itself. So they stopped printing the magazine because people stopped calling in. So things shifted, didn't they? They changed. The market changed, but that agent didn't change what they were doing. That agent failed out of real estate because they refused to change when the market changed. That's why when you look around this room and you see people that are in this business for more than 5 years, more than 7 years, talk to them. They'll tell you. The way that they survived is they changed with the times. And the times are still changing. Right, Mary? B, bringing in the saleable listing. Or C, waiting for buyers to call. That's a good one. You like that one? B. How many agree with Judy and say B? Yeah. Bring in a saleable listing. What's the difference between a listing and a saleable listing? Why is that so funny? Oh, you guys agree. What's that?
One that's overpriced and one that's priced to sell.
One that's overpriced and one that's priced to sell, right? I remember, I'll share with you a personal story. My first year in real estate was actually my first 3 months. A friend of mine had listed their 2-family on Suffolk Street in Worcester, 01604. And I remember I listed it for exactly $117,000. And I sat at the table, and I sat next to the top producer in my office because I wanted to get some ideas and some techniques and all that good stuff. And I was really excited that I was really proud of myself and really, I had a listing. And I was just so proud of myself that I had a listing that I couldn't wait for the conversation or the topic to come up so that I could share with everyone at the table that I had a listing. Because you have to list to what? Last. And the manager kept saying, you got to go out and get listings. So I got one, right? And so I'm really proud of myself. And they'd been on the market for about 2 months. And the top producer, who I really looked up to and respected, and I wanted to be like her. I wanted to sell as many homes as she did. And so the point came in the conversation where, you know, I was able to tell everyone, I've got a listing. Woohoo! You know? And so the top producer sitting next to me, you know, who I think at the time she had a side job as a needle next to a balloon, all right? Because she then said to me, well, how long's it been on the market, John? Oh, about 2 months. And then she said, so why isn't it sold yet? Well, you know, location, it's a 2-family, you know, it's not a probably came up, you know, has asbestos siding, you know, but it's, you know, it's a nice house, it'll sell. And she said, yeah, but why isn't it sold yet? And finally I got to the point where, like, she's asking a question that I definitely don't know the answer to. And so I thought I would learn something from this, but with great humility and embarrassment, you know, probably made her feel better, to, you know, shove me under the rock that I came from. And she said, John, the only reason why it's not selling is the price. And I, like an idiot, tried to argue with her. And said, oh no, it's not the price and blah, 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 blah. She goes, the only reason a listing doesn't sell is because of price. She goes, if you tell me it's a location, John, go ahead and move the house to a better location. Well, I can't do that. If you tell me it's condition, then go ahead and tell the seller to fix it up. Well, I can't afford to fix it up. And I remember she said to me, people always pay for repairs, either while they're living in the house or when they sell it. Ooh, that's a good one. You could use that with your seller next time. Their house is all dilapidated, falling apart, and you can tell them, listen, people pay for their repairs and upkeep of their home one of 2 ways, either while they own it and they live in it, or when they go to sell the property. Because what does that do to the what? The price? Makes it different, right? Yeah. You guys learned some good things today? Yes? Some tools you can take back and use and implement? Now, number 2, what is the surest way to increase your income in real estate? A, increase your inventory. B, charge more commission. Or C, increase your hours. You notice there wasn't an all of the above, right?
Right.
Number 3, what is the surest way to control your time in real estate? A, work with buyers. Go ahead and laugh. Right? How many of you are working with buyers and they're controlling your time and your energy and bringing it around, right? B, control your listing inventory. C, keep your schedule full. B is correct. Control your listing inventory. Listen, I'm not against working with buyers. Somebody has to work with buyers, right? And I love buyers. You know, some people say buyers are liars. Buyers are not liars. They just, no one asked them the right questions before they started working with them. That's the problem, right? They're not liars. You just didn't ask them the right questions before you started working with them. That's all. I love buyers, right? But you only work with them. I'm going to get into this a little later as to what you do and how you do it, how you be more efficient with buyers. Okay? Now, number 4, what is the quickest and easiest way to get listing appointments? A, mailouts. B, door knocking. Or C, telephone prospect. C.
But John, what about the do not call list? I can't call anybody because of the do not call list.
See if you smile. Remember when that came out, the do not call list? You know, I used to tell people, I used to say, listen, what's great about the do not call list is that when we were calling a street or a neighborhood, certain people would yell at us. And by the way, there are only 7 mean people in the world. They move around a lot. There are only 7 mean people in the world. But what was great about the do not call list was that when you ran the numbers of the entire street through the do not call list, it produced another list, which was what? It was called the what? The called list. Right? So now what has generated as a result of the do not call list, a bunch of people that want you to call them. Because if they didn't, they'd be on the do not call list. You see what I'm saying? Number 5, what is the best time to telephone prospect? A, evenings. B, weekday afternoons. Or C, Saturday mornings. C, Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings. Okay, gang. In this workshop, I'm going to talk about the 70% of the people that are in control and are out of control in this real estate business. How many of you would agree, again, that 70% of the people in real estate are out of control? Raise your hand. And by the way, if you have to use the facilities, get a cup, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. I'm just going to keep going. I have so much information to cram in such a short period of time that I'm just going to keep going with your permission. And if you need to get up and do anything, feel free. It's not going to bother me. Okay? Now, here's what we need to cover. We got a lot of information in a short period of time. Get your pens ready to make notes and listen very carefully. Okay? In this field of real estate, we can beg and plead. And for you managers in the room, you know, you can beg and you can plead and you can coerce and you can offer bonuses and all kinds of information to real estate agents, but yet 70% don't implement what it is that they learn. 70% don't do. And you have to think about why that is. You know, in my opinion, real estate is just too easy to get into. And the reason why people fail, it's too easy to get out. Think about this. You get a license, you get into real estate. How many of you, when you got a real estate license, received one letter from one company? No, you received multiple letters, right? In fact, when you went to those companies, you were almost interviewing them, you know, to find out which company you were going to join. That's kind of reversed in some cases in our industry. It's different. And so, how is it that people fail? Well, it's too easy to get out. For instance, if you sold one house, it would more than pay for your entire investment to become a real estate agent. So then people feel justified in saying, well, I got my money back, I'm done. The minute it gets hard, I'm out of here. Right? Too easy to get in, too easy to get out. The other thing is about an attitude that real estate agents have. And I'm one of them, so I mean, I'm not exempt from this. But it's this attitude of I'm an independent contractor, you know, and you can't tell me what to do because I'm an independent contractor. And in fact, the people who are the most successful in real estate are the people that treat being in real estate like a real job. They have a schedule. They start at a certain time. They take a lunch. They make time for family, friends. They quit at a certain time. And they stick to a schedule. They make time for prospecting and building and adding onto their business and building their business. And they make time for working in their business. Okay? It reminds me of a story about a realtor, a doctor, and an architect. And they're all standing around one day, and they were all debating as to who had the best hunting dog. Okay? And so the realtor comes up with the idea, so hey, why don't we have a contest to see who has the best hunting dog? Okay? Figured the realtor would, come up with that. And so they all grabbed a bag of bones, and they went out to a field. And the architect took his dog, and he said, slide rule, took the bag of bones, and he threw the bones out into the field. And he said to his dog, slide rule, go get him. And that dog tore off into the field, dust flying, bones flying everywhere, and within a matter of seconds, as the dust settled, you could see a perfectly constructed bridge. And at this time, the realtor's really sweating it, saying, wow, what did I get myself into, right? So the doctor gets up, and he takes his bag of bones, and he whips them out into the field, and the bones go flying. And then he says, scalpel, go get him. And that dog goes tearing off into the field, dust flying everywhere, bones flying everywhere. When the dust settled, what you could see was a perfectly formed human skeleton. And at this point, the realtor's really thinking, oh gosh, I really don't. So the realtor gets up, and he takes his bag of bones, he throws them out into the field, and he says to his dog, he says, salesperson, go get him. And that dog tore out into the field, had coffee with the other two dogs, and took the rest of the day off. Oh. I'm a realtor. No one's going to tell me what to do. I'm an independent contractor. It's like a kid in a candy store. You know, it's kind of like saying, wow, I had a real job where I had to come in at a certain time. You managers will get a chuckle out of this, or a little smile anyway. You know, Steve, you ever hire somebody and they come in and they show up Monday morning, 9 o'clock with their briefcase and their tie and suit on, and they say, okay, Steve, I'm here, I'm reporting for duty, and I'm here now. And you just smile and you say, okay, good, get to work, right? And then they do this for a couple of days because they're treating it like a real job. And then they start hanging around certain people in the office. And they realize that they're the only one, other than the manager, who's in the office at that hour, right? Thinking, what's going on here? How come everyone else is? And then they realize that they could come in later and it's okay. And then one of the agents says, hey, we're going on a broker tour. You get free lunch. And the person who just comes from a real job saying, well, I got to be back in an hour. And they're like, don't worry about it. We're gonna have ice cream after we're done. We're gonna have we might hit the matinee, we can do that, we hit that in the same shot. And then get back to the office, make a few phone calls. And some of the agents, and again, they're not anybody in this room, but just getting to work can make all the difference in the world. The problem in real estate is that independent contractors is that we have the freedom and flexibility to do what we want. So oftentimes, as human nature carries us as humans, we do. You follow me? It's hard. Real estate is a simple business, but sometimes it's hard. Would you agree with that? Simple premise? Good. Now, how many of you came into the real estate industry with optimistic objectives? Raise your hand. Oh, I did. Are you kidding me? Name badge, cards, four-door car, lots of what? Money, right? The person that said that I should get into real estate was a realtor that helped me buy my house, and she drove a Cadillac and had a fur coat and big diamonds and all this, but, and she said, you should get into this business, and I'm thinking, why? I don't understand, but, you look like you're doing pretty well, so what the heck, if I could do half of what you're doing, I'd be pretty happy. And you know what? I come to find out she got all that from, I knew that she was either living off of an annuity or she was married to one. So it didn't come from real estate. I found that out too late. I was already hooked on real estate. I was already in the business. Now, 70% of the people fail in real estate because they're not working what we call the formula. What is it called, gang? The what? Formula. You got it. Now, success has very little to do with personality. In fact, if you see some of your top producers at an awards banquet, and as they're going up stage to get their trophy, they have this look on their face like they're just to the left of Attila the Hun. Right? So success in real estate has very little to do with personality. So how is it that somebody who doesn't have a great personality and is really a likable person, how is it that they're successful in real estate and other people are not? Because the people that are not successful are not following the what? The formula, right? Now, 20% of the people are making 80% of the money. The Pareto principle, right? Which means, gang, now feel this, 80% of the people are living off of 20% of the money. And are failing out of the real estate business. And do you know why? They're not working the what? The formula. You want to know what the formula is?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, see, it works. Yeah. All right. The formula is so simple that it's easy. Are you ready, gang? You have it? The weekly success formula. Number one. Number one is each week work. Actually, we could just stop right there and increase it. Wouldn't you agree with that? How about that? How about we just end the seminar right now? Each week work on bringing in one saleable listing. Number two, separate lookers from buyers. You got it. And number three is sell in-house inventory. That's the weekly success formula. Now, if you follow this formula, you'll have more closings in less time and have more control over your outcome, which will give you more control of your income, and which in life, right? Absolutely. Now, work ethic, they care about their customers and their clients, and they're just working way too hard because they're not in control. Okay? The techniques I've shared with you already, the dialogues I shared with you, and the techniques that I'm going to share with you will put you in control. And again, the other thing you have to wrap your mind around so hard, again, is that fact that it's so simple, it's easy. Okay? In fact, sometimes when I share things with people, what stops them from being successful is they think it's going to be more complicated than that. It just has to be. It can't be that easy. It can't be true. Right? So you have to get through that barrier and realize that it's so simple that it's easy. Now, when we talk about each week, work on bringing in a saleable listing. Okay? Bringing in a saleable listing each week. In order to bring in a saleable listing each week, we talk about listings, okay? You have to go on what I call appointments. Appointments. Everybody say that with me if you would, please, right? Appointments. Oh, you guys are good. We don't have to do that a second time. You did it so well. You emphasize the S in there, correct? Because too many people go out on an appointment and they don't get it and they say, that doesn't work. You know? You can't get them all. Even the pros don't get them all yet. Nobody gets 10 out of 10. Okay? So you have to go on appointments. And in order to get appointments, you have to do these things by, it's called making calls. Oh, well, John, that's nothing new. My manager's been trying to tell me that for the past year and a half. That's nothing new. Well, you should have listened to him or her a year and a half ago, right? So you have to make calls to make appointments to go on listings, right? Now, how does it work? Do you make one call to go on 2 appointments to get 3 listings? Is that how it works? No? Maybe the opposite way, right? Maybe 100 calls to get 3 appointments, to get 1 listing, right? Okay, gang? I'm going to give you the major secret to success in real estate. How many people want to hear that one? I mean, this is the major secret of success. Skip, you're the only one? Okay, I'm just going to tell you. You guys,
Whisper it.
oh, and Sandra, all right. If they happen to hear it when I tell you this, and they want to know and write it down, they can do that. No, you guys are good. Here's the major secret of success in real estate. Go into your office every Saturday morning at 8:30 and get on the phone and call until you make 5 appointments. My goodness, gang, if you do that, you will knock the cover off the ball, let me tell you. Go into your office every Saturday morning at 8:30. Don't worry about other people hearing you. They won't be there. Go into your office every Saturday morning at 8:30 and call until you get 5 listing appointments. I'm telling you, you will never be more in control of your real estate career than when you do that. Now, some people say, well, it's so easy, it's hard. It's hard to do that. How many people want to sleep? I mean, sometimes I don't even get up until 8:30 in the morning because I worked late the night before, right? So it's hard, I understand that. But the fact is that if you're doing things that other people don't want to do, you can be successful. Successful people do the things that other people don't want to do. What did he say? I'll repeat it. Successful people do things that other people don't want to do. So here's the thing, gang. Figure out what you don't want to do in real estate and do it. And you'll be successful. And you'll be more in control of your income and your outcome. Okay? Now, you may not like the phone, but listen to this, gang. Every job has something you don't like. I mean, think about the last job you had. You know, was there something about it you didn't like? Absolutely. Hey, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the phone. I still don't like the phone. But I get on the phone. Right? Every job has something you don't like to do. Number 2, we talked about separating the lookers from the buyers. Another way to say it is, seek not the living among the dead. Right? Separate the lookers from the buyers. Floyd has a name for this. It's called CETO. Okay? And if you know what it is, don't say anything. Okay? CETO. So that's how you separate the lookers from the buyers. Now, number 3. Oh, you don't know what CETO is?
No.
Oh, should I share with you? Oh, okay, great. CETO stands for come into the office. That's a Floyd Whitman term. CETO, come into the office. Okay, gang? Come into the office. So, John, what do you say? Well, you get the buyer to come into the office. And work with the ones that will, and don't work with the ones that won't come into your office. But John, if I do that, I'm afraid I'm going to lose them. Right? How many agree with that? You might lose a buyer if you try to get in. They come into your office, and they won't meet you in the office. They won't come into the office, so you're going to lose them, right?
Good.
Yeah, that's true, right? Well, listen. Here's the deal, gang. You're going to lose them anyway, but this way you'll lose them quicker. Right? Right? It's less expensive. That's right. Less money on gas, right? I had a buyer. I absolutely would not show her a property. She had a property she wanted to look at. This was just recent, actually. And I kept insisting that she come into the office. Come into the office. She stood me up 3 times. I didn't care. I was in my office. I was working. I had things to do. It was a time that I had dedicated to getting things done. So when they didn't show up, they didn't show up. You know, 3 times you're what?
Out.
You're out, right? So the 4th time I said, yeah, this is silly. This is ridiculous. I mean, how many excuses can you make up? And I had absolutely resolved that I was definitely not working with this buyer. And so she actually ended up showing up late. Are you surprised? And I went through buyer agency, and exclusive buyer agency, And I went through the process. She had to get pre-approved and all this stuff. And as long as the buyer kept saying yes to all the things that I needed the buyer to do, I would work with the buyer. And if they said no, they wouldn't. Well, I showed the buyer 3 houses. They put one under agreement. It's actually the property's right here in Auburn, Bridle Path, and it's under agreement. And there's a buyer that, I just absolutely made a commitment 3 times to her. She brought her boyfriend with her, and she said, I don't understand why you kept saying come into the office. I've been looking at houses, and I don't understand why you keep telling me to come into the office. And her boyfriend answered the question. Sometimes if you just pause, the other person will handle the objection for you. And again, less is what? More. Less is more. Less is better, right? So anytime someone asks me a question, I always pause. Because sometimes they'll either answer it themselves or someone else will answer it for me. It was beautiful. Like the boyfriend and I scripted it together before they came in. And he said, well, don't you know, the reason why you got to come in is because guys like John, they want you to sign papers and, get everything going like that. They need to tell you what's going on. And he said, you have to come into the office. And I looked at him and I said, sign here, right? You sign here. And it works. Now, I can tell you, remember I promised you I was going to share with you one thing that was infallible? One thing that works and always works all the time, and that's that. It's the only thing that works 100% of the time. Only work with buyers that will come into the office. Now, I'm not telling you that 10 out of every 10 buyers are actually going to buy a house. I had a buyer that came into the office who put a property under agreement. Actually, when it was verbally accepted by the bank, I called him and said, guess what? Your offer was accepted. You've got the house of your dreams, right? And he said, I just got laid off an hour ago. So it's not 100%. Ouch. Now, here's the truth, gang. You have to have a lot of internal confidence to do what I'm saying to do. Would you agree with that? You have to have a lot of faith in what I'm telling you to do. But believe me, this is not something I created and I invented right before the seminar. This has been going on for years. It's a history-proven, psychologically sound technique that works. So what are you going to do when a buyer calls you and they want to see a property? What are you going to say to them? But John, the house is in Rochdale and they live in Spencer and my office is in Worcester. It just doesn't make any sense for them to come in. And here's what I would say. What should you do?
Meet me in the Worcester office.
Yeah, right. But get them to come into the office. Okay, gang? Again, some of these things you have to have a little bit of blind faith and say, listen, I don't know how it works, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm going to make it happen. And please, erase this from, I have an entire poem in my computer, and sometimes I bring it out when I'm teaching a class, and it's about this word that is the demise of most people, and it's about the word try. How many times, Rose, have you ever met a friend at a grocery store or something over at Shaw's, and you're in there and they say, hey, you know what, I'll try and give you a buzz on Monday. We'll go to Packagug, we'll play some golf, right? Did you hear from that person on Monday? No, because they said try. What they did is they built in an excuse to not do it. Right, gang? So don't leave here today. I'm asking you, please don't leave here today and try any of this stuff. The difference is doing it and trying it have completely different results. Would you agree with that? So make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to try anything, that you're going to do it. You're going to make it happen. I've heard managers talk to agents. How many homes are you going to sell? Let's put our business plan together this year. How many homes are you going to sell? And Sandy, they say, I'm going to try to sell 25 homes. And Sandy says, try to sell 25 homes? Or are you going to sell 25 homes? And if you're going to sell 25 homes, right, Manny, how are you going to do it? Manny's going to say, hey, how are you going to do that, right? How are you going to get from A to Z? How are you going to get there? Now, number 3. Let's talk about number 3. What was number 3? Sell in-house inventory. John, what are you talking about? And I know what you're thinking. But John, we don't have the product that they're looking for in-house. What if we don't have that? What if it doesn't exist? What if we don't have it? Well, for 8 out of 10 buyers, they don't buy what they originally start looking for. Right? Joyce is shaking her head. She knows. How many times you get a call, they say, well, listen, I want a condo, and I want it in Worcester, and they end up buying a ranch in Grafton, right? All the time it happens. For you new people, it's true. 8 out of 10 don't buy what they're originally looking for. You can make a note of this if you want, or it doesn't. You don't have to. But some points about selling in-house inventory, about giving you some control. And so what I'm saying is that try to sell try, what? Oh, yeah. Sell in-house inventory first. Bring them and share with them what you have in-house first. Here's why. Here are the advantages. If any sale is going to fall through, it's when it's a co-broke sale. Would you agree with that? If any offer is going to be rejected, it's when it's a co-broke listing. When you work in-house inventory, you close more of them, you close quicker, and you have more control, and you spend less time. Okay? Now, some of you don't take my words and twist them around. John Miller said that don't show any houses with any other company or an MLS. No, I'm not saying that. Right? And so what you want to do is work on in-house inventory. When you share with them the in-house inventory first, and they like it and they buy it, and by the way, you're not going to sell them anything. They're going to buy it, right, gang? We don't sell houses. Houses sell themselves. How many agree with that premise? Raise your hand, right? Listen, gang, there's nothing you can say or do to get a buyer to buy a house that they don't like. There's no tricky words, there's no dialogue, there's nothing you can say. They walk in that house and they walk in that foyer, and they walk into that foyer, and they're either going to like the house or they don't. How many of you ever walked a buyer into a house and they walk into the foyer and they look at each other and they say, honey, this is the one. Who just said that? This is the one. Who said that? I heard somebody say this is the one. Right? Isn't that so sweet? You like that? That's how mushy you get. But doesn't that happen? They get a feel for the property when they get. Listen, there's nothing you can say or do to screw up the deal when they fall in love with a house and they're going to buy it. They're determined to buy that property and they buy it. Right, King? Now, in your notes, do you have a spot for career building formula?
Yes.
Here's a career building formula, 3 sections. Number 1, build your inventory. Write that in, please. Build your inventory. What is inventory to you? Listings. 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 Number 2, market and sell your inventory. The third part of the career building formula, replace your sold inventory. Right? How many people know a realtor is always working on one deal, right? Yeah, always working on that one deal, you know? Oh, my goodness. You have to do all 3 at the same time, would you agree? You can't just do 1, and then 2, and then 3, because that's how your income, some people say, John, how do I make my income consistent in real estate? That's simple. Use the career building formula on a consistent basis. Do each of these 3 activities on a consistent basis, and your income will be consistent. Some people say, oh, John, you know, I get really busy in the spring, I make a lot of money in the summer, and it goes up and down and up and down. I don't have money for taxes at the end of the year. I have to make more money the following year to pay the taxes for the previous year, and it's like a roller coaster. And then people ask them, hey, what's it like to be in real estate? Oh, it's like a roller coaster. It's crazy. You know, it doesn't have to be, because consistent activity creates consistent results. Absolutely. So if your results are wacky, think about what you're doing physically, and that will create a difference in your results. If I could give you one piece of advice about real estate that would guarantee your success in real estate, do you want to know what it is?
Yes, yes.
Get out of real estate. Now, what do I mean by that? What I'm saying is get out of the real estate industry, get out of the real estate business, and get into the listing business. Get into the listing business. You know what, if I had my way, I'd go to the Board of Registration, I'd tell them to eliminate licenses. Instead, they should be giving out listing permits. Okay? Get out of real estate, get into listing. Career building formula. Hey, you know, some people say, well, I like buyers, I want to work with buyers. I got a prediction, you know, and some of you aren't going to like it when I tell you this, but those of you that are making a living off of floor time, sign calls, ad calls, there's going to come a time, it's already there, there's already massive change with the internet and everything that's taking place. where, you know, my first year in real estate, I sold 17 homes. Ooh, right? I can tell you that 7 of those people were friends and family. My war market, I'll be honest with you, I was just lucky. And no skill involved, no nothing. They came to me and said, John, we have an inheritance. I've got 4 kids. They all want to buy a house, and I want to buy one too. That was 5. And 2 other people. It was just luck. The other 10 I got from floor time because I got really good at making an appointment and doing this, right? CITO, come into the office. And I'll tell you something else that's not impressive is that I probably worked about 70 or 80 hours a week. Not impressive. Oh, and then I learned the secret of being in control after that because I thought to myself, wow, I made the same amount of money doing this than I did at my real job, but I worked a lot more hours, which really means that I made a lot less money per hour. I could probably make the same amount of money. In fact, the average real estate agent now and forever is, when you take the average, is less than a poverty level income on average. Wow. Why is that? Out of control. They don't have control. Get out of real estate. If all you did for 4 months was to go on listing appointments, you would literally become a master lister. And you'd create an inventory. And it's kind of like that snowball at the top of the mountain that starts rolling down. You know, because listings beget more listings, beget more listings, beget more listings. You follow me? But you have to keep and maintain that focus. Some of us have been in the business for so long, and sometimes we get to a certain point where we're listless, right? And then we have to build our inventory all over again, and we think to ourselves, what happened? How did I become listless? You know? And so it's all going back to building that inventory. If you just focus on bringing in 1 saleable listing a week, all your problems go away. More control comes into your life. Here's another powerful point here. When people fail in real estate, they blame everyone else, right? They blame their office, they blame their manager, they blame the color of their logo or their sign, they blame the market, they blame the internet, they blame the competition, they blame on price wars, right? You ever heard those stinking things? They're complaining, complaining, complaining. You know, my other point is that, you know, I hear agents complaining about all those things that I just mentioned. Well, the reality of it is that it has nothing to do with any of those things. What does Zig Ziglar say? Zig Ziglar says when some person is pointing at a problem, right, there are 3 more fingers pointing right back at the source of the problem. Right, gang? It's not all those things that I mentioned. It's very humbling. You know, we have to kind of look at ourselves. What are we doing? What are we physically doing with our activities? We control our income, not our outside environment. Something like, well, I'm going to change my office. Don't change your office. What is that going to do? In fact, I can't think of anything that you could do to lose money quicker than to change your office. You have to re-educate your entire sphere of influence. You have to come up with new forms and processes and procedures. There's nothing that could cause you to make less money quicker than changing your office. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You've done it before. I'm like, yeah, you know, some of it's got a benefit, some's not. But whenever you make a change, you always have to take a big step back. So don't change your environment. Change what you're physically doing. Okay, gang? Like Zig says, don't point at someone. Don't blame it on something else. Okay? I've just given you some good dialogue that you could use when you go back to the office when people start we don't do enough print advertising. Has nothing to do with that. Right, gang? It has to do with ourselves. It's just being honest. Biggest problem in real estate, as I mentioned, is everything's optional. And so you have to motivate and educate and fire yourself up. And what I've done is, before we wrap up, I want to tell you that on the way out, there are some green pages out there. And I put it together. It's an article. It's called How to Survive in a Changing Market. And that's my gift to you folks. So when you leave, grab one of those on the way out. And you could, you know, read that and give you some really good techniques because, you know, I would have loved to spend more time with you guys, but we just don't have that much more time. So I put that article. That's my gift from me to you. And before we wrap up, I just want to read a real quick poem about persistence, something that kind of hit home for me, and I think you'll appreciate it as well. It takes persistence to reach a goal. Keep trying is the rule that must be followed to become successful in anything. Your success in anything is connected to your actions. to your actions, what you're physically doing. Keep moving toward your goal. You ever see a football player when he falls, you see he falls toward the goal. You know, he's getting tackled, but even though he's moving, he's still falling toward the goal. You'll always make mistakes, but don't quit. You may even have to hang on after others have let go. Sound familiar? A lot of people getting out of real estate now, right? Persistence means taking pains to overcome every obstacle, to do all that's necessary to reach your goal. In the end, the only people who fail are those who do not try. All great achievement takes time. Thank you all. You've been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Hey, my name's Matteo Gentili, President-elect of the Worcester Regional Association of Realtors. We built this beautiful building to help with classes like this, and we are very thankful to have John back helping us again. John's done a great job, and we're going to try to get him back again. So let's hear it for John again.